Welcome to Daughters of Divine Joy, the radio show for women who are tired of choosing between success and their sanity. Each week, we gather around this virtual table to talk about the things nobody else is saying out loud: how to lead without burning, how to set boundaries without guilt, how to honor your calling without sacrificing your soul. This is a sacred place for women who are done accepting chaos as normal and ready to claim the joy that's been their birthright all along. This is Daughters of Divine Joy. Welcome.
Hey, good evening, good evening, good evening. Y'all don't understand. Sometimes it's a fight to get here. but I'm here, and that's the good thing about it. You may have to struggle to get to a place, but as long as you get there, that's what counts. So good evening, good evening. Happy Thursday to you. I hope you had a glorious day. I had a very busy one. So let me tell y'all. Today is only Thursday. It is not a special day in my household. And I made smothered turkey wings, collard greens, and sweet potatoes. So, my household gonna eat good today. I'm having a salad and but anyway, it's gonna be all right. So I welcome you here today. We started last week talking about joy. So, I am Diane Butts, and this is Daughters of Divine Joy. And I was talking about the joy journey, and it's just so much that I wanted to say that I decided to make a part two. Okay. So this week we're going to continue to talk about joy. And I want you to understand the reason why this is so important, especially for today's times, is because joy is a form of resistance. Okay. So we live in a society that always does not always hold our best interests at heart. And one of the easiest, most joyful ways to make somebody angry or to get under somebody's skin is to be joyful in a situation that they created to cause you pain. I'm going to say that again. One of the best forms of resistance is joy. Because if someone has created a system, a structure, a situation, a circumstance to bring you pain, but you are laughing and being joyful in the midst of that, that gets under their skin because it tells them that what they planned did not work. Okay. And so that's what I want to talk about a little bit more. And so, but in order to do that, I talked about joy as survival techniques, but I want to get into more as joy as a way to thrive. Okay, our ancestors and our elders did it so they can get through things, and they've gotten through a lot of things. We still have things to get through, but we're doing more thriving than we are surviving. And so how do we take the tools that were handed to us and create a more joyful experience and a more soul feeding experience to hand down to our children? Okay, so that's what I want to get in today. And I'm not going to promise you that once we do this episode that we're going to be finished with joy. No, we're not going to be finished with it because come on, the name of the show is Daughters of Divine Joy. So joy is going to be a subject that we touch on and talk about many times over. So let's talk about some of the things that I'm checking my notes out here. 'Cause I think at one point I started sifting through my notes. And I did, and I know I skipped over this. I talked about joy that's in the scriptures. Okay. The joy of the Lord is my strength. Okay. That's one of my favorite scripture. It's not willpower, it's not discipline, but joy is what strengthens you. Okay, I want you to understand that. Weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. Sorrow is just temporary, joy comes. And like I said, joy is a decision that we make each and every day. You cannot allow the circumstances to determine how you're going to respond to your life, how you're going to show up in your life. You do that. And so having a heart of gratitude is one way that we do that. Um, but we'll get into that a little later. So then John 16 says, "Now is your time of grief, but I will see you again and you will rejoice, and no one will take away your joy." So it's not negotiable. My joy is not negotiable, and it means that because it's not negotiable, no one has control over but me. Okay. We always have an expression, "Don't let the devil steal your joy." Be there. Okay. A screen went blank for a minute. I don't know if you guys saw that, but I did. Um, and so then there also, and joy is one of the fruits of the spirit. So joy is a part of faith, and I don't know a faith that doesn't have a part of joy, although you can't tell it how some people walk around. But I just want you to understand that there are, and I did talk about some of this, yeah, last week. So I'm going to jump ahead and look at, we have always, Black women have always been able to create out of our circumstances, no matter how difficult they may have been, no matter how challenging they may have been. We've always been able to create beauty and joy and laughter and love in circumstances that seem unbearable. But we did it, okay? With all the ugliness that surrounded us, we still found and created beauty. And we can do that. It's not a delusion. It's not it's not something you're making up that's not based in reality. It's based in a defiant hope. It's based in radical joy. It's based in the belief that this world does not control or determine who you are and how you are going to be. You are in charge of that. And so what we are some of our cultural expressions of joy in our culture look like the way we worship. It's usually not quiet. Black folks are known for, as a matter of fact, it's made jokes out of. We laugh about it sometimes, but there are other cultures that laugh at it too because they don't understand it. People laugh at what they don't understand. But shouting, dancing, singing, that's having church. That's how we have church. It's a celebration. It's a worship of being able to get through from one week to another week. And it's also a thank you for what God has done for you during that week. Our ancestors did it, our elders did it, and so that was an opportunity for them to be joyful on a Sunday when they didn't have to work. Okay, and that's enough to make you shout and dance with the kind of work they did. Food and fellowship is another way that we do that. There's food when I already explained to you what I can cook it when I have cooked today. So there's joy that comes from that. When my family doesn't see a meatloaf, but actually sees some real food that I put some heart and soul into, that makes them happy. It's joy created in our celebrations and our around our table, the stories that are shared, the traditions that we hold. Those things become centers of our joy. Um, Even in music and dance, there's a way that we talk about our lives. When you listen to blues music, there's a certain storytelling that goes on. There's an expression of emotion that goes on that's rich and raw, and that allows us to get out the things that are troubling us, but also to do it in a way that creates more beauty and joy, and allows us to dance and move and swing our hips and just get all the tension and stress and just get it all out and forget about what's going on in the world. You're there for that moment, for that time, for that period, for that song, and for those movements. And that can take you in to another place spiritually. Okay, so the next thing is in our laughter and storytelling. And we can find humor in a lot of beautiful things, and we can find humor in things that are also ugly, and do it in a way where we're not diminishing ourselves, we're not diminishing the situation or the harm. We're just finding a way to look at it, laugh at it, and move on from it. Okay. Um, and part of that is that refusal to not let anyone steal our joy, to be able to find laughter in uncomfortable situations, in situations where most people would collapse or cry or give up or fall apart. We didn't do that. And so, again, that is a show of faith, a show of strength, and a show of all that we have been able to endure over time. Then there's an intersection of all three, our faith, our culture, and our joy. And when you bring those together, oh my God, you understand that joy is a spiritual discipline. It's not an emotion that happens to you, it's a practice that you cultivate over time. You choose joy when you don't even feel joy. Um, Last week when I came on, I told you that it was my mother's birthday. But what I didn't tell you is the last thing I wanted to do last week was come before this camera and talk to anybody about joy. I was not feeling joy, but I had joy. You know what I mean? I wasn't feeling like being on camera. I wasn't feeling like talking to you, but it wasn't about the feeling. Did, I came on, I talked to you because in the outcome of it all, and when I'm in that situation and I'm looking at how I'm feeling, I'm honoring how I'm feeling by feeling that, but I keep going. And I'm not talking about that kind of keep going where you're ignoring how you feel, but in spite of what you're feeling, you continue on. And what I found during that show, as I was doing that show, was just the act of doing the show was helping me to feel the kind of joy that I talk about. And so it may not look to you as if I was experiencing anything. I was, but I was still being joyful. And I was being joyful because I understand the power of joy and being able to hold that space for yourself and still continue on functioning. I did it because I know my mother would have said, "Girl, if you don't get on that show and do that thing like you're supposed to do, you got to be consistent in what you're doing." So I know for her, I wanted to do it for her. I wanted to do it for myself because I know that in the midst of whatever happens, that um, life goes on. Life goes on. And sometimes we must go on too. So I did it as a little push for myself to continue to be who I am, to show up in the ways that I'm supposed to show up. I don't do this just because I feel like it's a fun thing. I do this because I feel like I'm called to do it. And so when you have a calling on your life, there's some things you do, even if you don't feel like it. And the world doesn't stop because you don't feel like it. At least that's how I was raised. So there we go. So um, when we understand joy as a spiritual discipline, then it helps us to be able to draw from it. It becomes a resource that we pull from. It's we realize it's a choice that we're making and not just a response to something that has occurred. Okay, it's a choice that you are making. Now, understanding it as resistance. See, one of the purposes of white supremacy is to make you miserable. It's to make you doubt yourself. It's to make you feel unworthy or humiliate you. It's to make you not feel human. It doesn't work, but that is the purpose of it. It wants to leave you defeated. It wants you to be hopeless. It wants you to believe that you don't have any choices. It wants to exhaust you. But joy is how we resist that. laughing through the things that are uncomfortable is how we get through it. And it's also how we communicate without saying words, that you can't break me. Now, after 400 years, you would think that that memo was already out and everybody got it. But apparently not. Apparently not. And so understand that in our joyfulness, in our ability to keep showing up over and over and over, regardless of the obstacles that have been put in our way, that 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 is a form of joy that gets under the skin of those people who are trying to make life impossible for you, for the people who don't want you to be here, for the people that wish you would go away, for the people who wish you would crumble, for the people who wish you would break. Seeing you joyful, seeing you walking with the pride in your step, shoulders back, smile on your face, or look of seriousness. It doesn't have to be a smile. You ain't got to grin to be joyful. But it's a way that you carry yourself, it's your comportment. When I was being initiated into my sorority, I was given a name. And a certain terminology we don't use anymore, so I'm trying not to use it. But old habits come hard to break. So I was given the name Dignified D, and I wasn't quite sure how to take it. But because I think if it had come from my peers, I may have felt like it was. No, I think I still would have liked it because that word dignified came with some. It came with the spirit that I enjoyed, and I have to say, really did characterize me. I was a serious young woman. Um, Always trying to be calm, always composed, always thinking, always listening intently. Because if I was going to challenge anyone, I needed to also realize I needed to hear what they were saying before I challenged them. So listening was, something I did as a skill. I developed that very early in life. And it's a skill that I use in social work. It's a skill that I use in all the things that, in coaching and every aspect of my life. And so, these older women that had known me from a teenager, and here 15 years later, they're calling me Dignified D. And for me, I wore that tag proudly because it said something about my character and how I presented myself. Always cool, calm, and collected, always thinking, always ready, but always in a manner that was that held a lot of poise and dignity. That that's who I was raised to be. It's amazing how my mother, who came from the South and had endured all the hardships that she endured, she was determined she wasn't going to have no children who looked down when white people talked to them. She taught us, she looked them straight in the eye. Do not be disrespectful, but do not bow your head ever. And when you speak to be heard, speak clearly, and be calm. So that was instilled in me. But she always wanted us to never be afraid to speak your mind, to speak your piece, as she would say, but speak it. And so, and being a Scorpio, I was a kid that always fought back. And so I always had something to say. Okay, let me see. I will. I'm getting a message here and I want to pay attention to it. Okay, so I just want you guys to know that in us living in this time that we're living in, I mean, basically, We got the KKK running around pulling people out of cars. So that's the time that we're living in, and so to be able to carry yourself with comportment and dignity, to be able to handle yourself in a manner that not only says I need to be respected, that it demands respect, and would make somebody feel real stupid to treat you any other way. But anyway, um, our joy becomes a tool of resistance. And because what it communicates is that whatever's being thrown at you has not been effective. I was listening to something on Instagram, and Megan Kelly's like, oh, this person needs to just get over their melanin. No, it's not something we get over. It like we're obsessed with it. It's who we are. It's a makeup of ours. So yeah, it's not something you get over. And so being proud of who you are, being proud of where you come from and the struggles that our ancestors have overcome is something to be spoken of, is something to be lifted up, is to be heralded. And so when we look around and see the attempts to erase all of that out of our books and out of public buildings, and changing museums to make them more palatable for those who don't even go to those museums, um, we know one thing: unless you kill every last one of us, unless you put every last one of us out, take us out, Black history will be here. Our stories will be told. We are the stories. We are the stories of survival. We are the embodiment of strength and beauty and creativity. We are it. And they know it. They know it. They know it when they look at us. They know it when they covet our music, then our dancing. They know it when they celebrate our culture, even though they act like they don't. They know it. And so joy is the way we show our resistance without ever having to say a word, without ever having to cuss, without ever having to raise a fist. Joy will cut like a knife when somebody wants you to feel pain and see your pain. That's the real sick part. Not only do you want me to have pain, you want to enjoy watching me have it. And sometimes I could just throw my head back and go, okay. I had a supervisor say to me, I don't like that look on your face. I said, I'm sure you don't. What do you want me to do? Fix my face like a child? No, that wasn't going to happen. Anyway, so also understand that joy is our witness. It is a witness. It tells people that you're standing in your faith. There's a way to show that you're standing in your faith, that the circumstance did not determine your response, that you understand that whatever's going on this earthly plane isn't all that's going on. And we know the joy comes in the morning. And so, even when we're having difficult moments, even when there is stress in our lives, even when there are people just piling on us, our ancestors taught us and our elders have modeled for us that joy is what will see us through. So how do we live at this intersection of culture and spiritual and the individual challenges that come upon us? How do we live in creating this joy and being joyful and celebrating joy in each other? So we're going to talk about that in a few minutes. I think it's time for a commercial, so I think it would be a good time to break. And don't forget to like and subscribe. We'll take a
A doctor's calling, a company's mission, united for a greater good. When Edmark International, the pioneers of wellness, joined forces with Dr. LaJoyce Brookshire, naturopath, the world gained a new weapon in the fight for true health. Co-created, science-backed, nature-powered. This isn't just a product. This is a movement. Born from decades of groundbreaking research, naturopathic mastery, and Edmark's relentless innovation.
The body wants to heal itself, and we have just given it the ultimate toolkit.
A detox unlike any other. A partnership unlike any other. The future of health starts now.
Okay, hey. We're back. Okay. I've got my water refreshed, so I'm ready. So how do we live at this intersection? Number one, don't just sit quietly in church. Engage your whole self. The singing, the clapping, the saying amen. Give God all the enthusiasm you have, all the enthusiasm you can muster up. Create rituals for yourself, like dancing while you're cooking, singing in the car, lighting candles for dinner every Tuesday or Thursday instead of waiting for Sunday or for some other time. Wear your good jewelry. You don't wait for a special occasion, just wear your good jewelry. Put on the dress. Even if you're just walking around the house, put that cute dress on. You know you bought it to wear. You know you look good in it. Put it on. And it will probably bring you some joy. Let me see. Oh, yeah. This is a big one. Use the good dishes. How about using the dishes, period, not paper plates? We're a paper plate house. I don't know why, but anyway, um, because I never used them when I lived alone. I always used the dishes. I didn't have good dishes. I had dishes, and that was good, and so I used them because why not? It makes you feel good to have your food laid out on a plated well. That let's just say that plated well, and so I would do that for myself. Um, so you want to create joy deliberately. Um, and there may be different ways that you can do that. Let me see. Practice gratitude. And I said I would talk about this later. I would, and I find this works for me. You find the time that you need to do it, either in the morning when you wake up or at night. For me, the nighttime works because I have already gone through my day. I can reflect back on my day and I can point out three things that I am grateful for. When I tell you that changes how you see yourself in your day, that changes how you feel, that changes how you lay down at night, and when you get ready to rest your head, it allows you to let go of what wasn't good. It allows you to reflect and focus on those three things that brought you joy for that day and not whatever didn't. You can let go of the conversations that didn't go as you planned. You can let go of the things that said that got under your skin. You can let go of any kind of little incident that happened during the day that you may have been dwelling on. You can let go of all that. And that's a good way to end your day and lay your head down in perfect peace and rest. Okay. Um, Moments of beauty, pleasure. I remember we were taking, when I started doing this, let me explain. In the Northeast, we have multiple family homes. Well, we lived in a three-family home. So I lived on the third floor, had a two-bedroom apartment. My mother lived on the first floor, and she had three bedrooms. So she was taking care of our two cousins, her two first cousins, and they were much older than her, of course. And So they were up in age. Sister, who we called her sister. She was the oldest, and she was 98 when she came to live with us. And Flora was 96, and so where was I going with this? Oh, I don't believe I'm having a brain fart right now. A senior moment, just call it that. But anyway, and so I used to come downstairs. Did I hear some sound effect? I think I did. I used to come downstairs and help my mother out with them. And I remember one day, sister was in a good mood, and she used to sit by the window, and she was sitting by the window, looking outside. And this day, she was just chatty and laughing, and she was just so joyful, and her spirits were so high that day. And I remember just watching her little toothless laugh, and I just thought she was the most beautiful woman in the world, just watching her. And I was so grateful for that moment. I was so grateful to understand that how joy can be embodied in a person. And I remember journaling that in my gratitude journal. I was like, she looked so beautiful to me, so radiant to me. And there was something in that moment that I said, Lord, I want that when I get to be her age. If you bless me to be her age, I want to live in that. Um, and so what happens is that as you go through your day, you're looking for those little things, and you're looking for those moments that you get that feeling like I did when I'm watching her laugh and enjoying what it is that she was embodying in that moment. And so when you go through your day aware of what's going on, aware of your feeling about how you're taking things in and how it's moving inside of you, then you become more aware of those moments of gratitude. And I think you'll have more of them as well. It'll be hard to write down just three. I remember one time writing down like 8 things that brought me joy that day. And I'm like, did all these things bring me joy? Or am I grateful for all of these moments? Yes, I was. It was that deep. It was that good. And I was so glad I could remember all of them. It was that important for me to do that, not just as a witness, not just as a way to tell God thank you for those moments, but as a way to understand that during the course of your day and your life, there's so much richness that comes that we bypass sometimes and don't even realize it or count it as joy. There's a scripture in the Bible that says, count it all joy. And imagine doing that. Imagine going through life counting everything as a joy. What would there be what would your moments of sadness be like? And I know there would be sadness. I'm not a Pollyanna, I'm not, everything is not sunshine and cinnamon. So I know there are moments that we encounter as human beings where we feel sorrow, we feel anger, we may even feel rage. And that's real. But it doesn't mean that joy escapes us. It doesn't mean that we don't have something that we can hold on to and love and practice and create. It doesn't mean that we have to live in that anger. Anger should be honored. Anger should be expressed. Your sadness and grief should be felt. But we don't have to stay there. We can honor it and still feel joy. Maybe not that day, maybe not that week, but joy is the goal. And somehow, some way, in that midst of whatever it was that made us angry, there's some joy in there. Maybe joy in the lesson that it taught you. It may be joy that you had somebody around you that could hear you and listen to you and see you and understand you in that moment and not judge. So I thank you for being able to express joy. I thank you for the gratitude. Take a moment and really think about what brings you joy and write it down as something of great gratitude and write it down. Laugh with your people, tell funny stories, help others celebrate their win. When you share joy, it multiplies. It does. So spread it around for everybody. Just come in the day laughing. Find something. I do that with my little grandson every morning. I look at him and, he's usually trying to climb out of the little chair he sits in because he don't like that thing anymore. He hate when his mother puts him in there and he's always trying to escape. And so I'll come over there and get him. I said, let me free you. We don't like this thing, do we? I don't like seeing you struggle getting out of it. So that's how I talk to him. But anyway, we share that moment in the morning. That's one of the things that I really am grateful for, those moments with him. And find yours and share that joy, whether it's laughing with the baby who doesn't even understand what you're saying, or finding an elder that you can talk with and learn something from, or just an exchange with a stranger in a grocery store, something like that. But it's all around if we just open our eyes to see it. Um, and when I talked about, rage and your emotions, hold space for that. Hold space for feeling what you're feeling. Just because I'm saying choose joy doesn't mean you don't have any others. Because joy isn't your feeling; it's a reaction, it's a response. And so you can feel what you're feeling. And please feel the wholeness of what you are feeling. Because one thing that our ancestors had to do was to suppress what they were feeling, to not talk about. Um, is that Paul? Oh, Paula. Okay. Hello. How are you, Paula? God bless you. Thank you for listening. One thing that I'm going to tell you, we need to be able to live in all of our emotions. Whew, our ancestors couldn't do it for fear of death. Our elders didn't have time to do it because they were always managing and struggling and doing so many things. We have so many choices right now that they never had, that were never afforded to them. And so being able to express our emotions, however we need to do it, is a gift that we have. It's a gift that was passed down to us because we couldn't do it. So they endured so that we could. Or at least, even if they weren't doing it for that particular reason, it was a gift of their endurance. And so we get to express ourselves. It's okay to feel those things. And know who you can express it around, because there are people that will not hold you in judgment. If you get mad and start cussing. And I'm laughing because, I try not to do it in front of people. I hate telling people that I'm a pastor because I don't, if they hear me cuss, they're going to look at me side-eyed, give me a side-eye and like, why confuse them? And I cuss too because I'm human. I ain't that kind. So anyway, hold space for all of it, okay? Because life is hard. Life is hard. Life is hard. Um, Let me give you some assessments. Some little things that you can do. Um, Let me talk about some things. I did say sorrow and joy can coexist. We don't have to choose. We don't have to be happy or sad. We can do both of them. We can do both. Um, so the question is, do I give myself permission to feel multiple emotions at once, or do I think I have to pick one? So when you are emotionally mature, You can hold complexities. You can grieve a loss and celebrate a win. You can be stressed about money and enjoy a beautiful day. Okay? You can be angry about injustice and you can laugh with friends. So we don't have to pick one. Like they said, choose a struggle. You don't have to choose a struggle. You can do both. You can do both. It's allowed because we're human. So, one of the things you can practice is this week when you feel joy, don't shut it down because you also feel pain. Let it be. Let it be. I can be sad about X, but joyful about that. I can be upset that my coworker took credit for my work. It didn't say anything about me. And I can come home and celebrate with my child because that report card was wonderful. Okay, see how that works? I can be sad that my best friend has passed on, and I can still celebrate my birthday. We can do both. And if you can't do both right now, give yourself grace that eventually you will be able to do both. Sometimes we need time to heal, and that's all right. But I tell you, joy will help you heal. Joy will bring you through to that place of healing. Another question. What am I waiting for before I allow myself to be joyful? Write it down. Then the next question I want you to ask yourself, what if this never happens? Will I ever or will I never experience joy? So, as I mentioned at the start of this, and as I mentioned last week, joy isn't about you waiting for the perfect circumstance. Mm-mm. Um, Joy comes in hard circumstances. And when you're able to experience and be in that state of joyfulness in hard situations, that's power. That is a spiritual power that is incomprehensible to most folks. But for those who would like to, don't seek your good, it's scary because it tells them that they can't touch you. And that is the whole point of the joy journey. That's the whole point of it. So when we are able as women to create joy between a rock and a hard place, that's when we know. That's when we know that we're doing this thing called life. We're doing it with heart and spirit. We're doing it with power and love. We're doing it with peace and justice. So don't wait. Don't wait for the moment to be right. Do yourself a favor and just love your life right now. Experience one joyful moment at a time. Create one joyful moment at a time. Because if there's no joy there, create some. Bake a cake in the middle of the week. Okay, maybe we don't want to bake cakes because they're sweet. Maybe you sit down with your child and create a craft. Do something crafty. Call a girlfriend you haven't spoken to in months. Matter of fact, call somebody you haven't spoken to because maybe the last time you all spoke, it wasn't so easy. Call them. Say, I was thinking about you. The Lord dropped you in my spirit today. and I was wondering how you were doing, and I just wanted to call and let you know I love you. You have no idea how that could change somebody's life around, even yours. Um, so create some joy in your life, especially when you're having difficult moments. Assess your deficit. How much joy you experience. If it's usually in a five or below, you in a deficit, baby. Okay, daughter, you need to build up some joy times in your life. Um, but identify your joy sources. What actually brings you joy? Not what should, but what actually brings you joy. Some people, like, I just realized I like listening to books. Okay, I kept saying I know I like to hold the book in my hand, and I want to be able to turn the pages, and it just feels good to hold a book. And I haven't read a book in I don't know how long because I don't have time. I tell myself I don't have time. I don't make the time to sit down. So what I found is that I can be listening to a book early in the morning when I wake up, because I'll wake up at 5. So I put my headphones on because I don't want to wake up and disturb my husband. Put some earbuds in, and I listen to a book for about an hour, hour and a half. So I'm finishing books like 2 or 3 in a week now. And I love it because I love books. I love words. I love fiction. I love the storylines and the characters. I love all of that. And now I get to love it even more because I don't have to sit down and actually have to do it. I can cook and listen to a book. So that is something that I found out brings me joy, and I really didn't think. Schedule your joy, girl. Schedule your joy. Put it on the calendar because, like I just said, got finished saying I don't have time. You won't have time. That book, I don't have to put it in anything. I don't have to carry a tote bag. I just, it's on my phone. It's on my phone. This is all I need. And I can listen to a book. My phone, my earbuds. So schedule it. Put it on your calendar. Remove blockers. When I say remove blockers, people, places, and things that block your joy, get them out the way. And practice daily delight. Every single day, one moment at a time, for 5 minutes. Even if it's just 5 minutes, do it. Y'all, thank you so much for being with me. This is the PA Empowerment Network, and this is Daughters of Divine Joy with Diane A. Butts. I thank you so much. Every week we come here and talk about different things that help us to enhance the quality of our life by enhancing who we are, and how we show up in this world. And so, yes, Daughters of Divine Joy is about embracing and embodying the joy that has been given to us as a birthright. And we're going to enjoy this world, this life, because we only have one life to live. So I thank you for being here. I thank you for listening. And I thank you for returning week after week. God bless you all. And check out the PA Empowerment Network. I think you come to find that there's a lot of good content here and a lot of interesting people. So God bless you. And hopefully I'll have a co-host in a few weeks. So I'm working on that. So I'll talk to you later. God bless you and have a lot of joy.